Good day to everyone. We are Group 1 and we will be discussing the human urogenital system. The flow of our presentation will be as follows. First, an introduction, followed by the normal development of the urogenital system, followed by the abnormal development of the urogenital system, followed by the reproductive development and puberty, and finally the conclusion. First, let's proceed to the introduction. The human urogenital system is a complex system that is composed of organs and structures responsible for both the excretion of waste products and the reproduction of species. During embryonic development, the urogenital system initially develops as two separate systems, the urinary system and the genital system. The urinary system is responsible for removing waste products from the body and maintaining fluid balance, while the genital system is responsible for producing and delivering gametes, the sperm and the eggs, for reproduction. These two systems then gradually merge and differentiate to form the complete urogenital system. The urogenital system includes the kidneys, ureters, bladder, urethra, and reproductive organs such as the ovaries, testes, uterus, fallopian tubes, and the penis. So here in the slide is a brief overview on the organs involved. First, we have here on the left the kidney. They are the two bean-shaped organs located in the retroperitoneal space of the abdomen. They are responsible for filtering waste products from the blood, regulating electrolyte balance and blood pressure, and producing hormones like erythropoietin and renin. The ureters are the thin tubes that carry urine from the kidneys to the bladder, which is a muscular sac that stores urine until it is expelled through the urethra during urination. In males, the reproductive organs include the testes, epididymis, vas deferens, seminal vesicles, prostate gland, and the penis. So the testes are the primary reproductive organs for males. They are responsible for producing and storing sperm and secreting testosterone. The epididymis is a coiled tube that you see here that lies on the surface of the testis and functions in the maturation and storage of sperm. The vas deferens is a muscular tube that carries sperm from the epididymis to the seminal vesicles and the prostate gland, where they mix with seminal fluid to form the semen. And then the penis is the male copulatory organ. This is responsible for delivering semen into the female reproductive tract during sexual intercourse. And finally, here on the right side, we have the female reproductive system. And reproductive organs here include the ovaries, fallopian tubes, uterus, cervix, and the vagina. The ovaries are the primary reproductive organs, and this is responsible for producing and releasing eggs, as well as secreting hormones like estrogen and progesterone. The fallopian tubes are thin tubes that transport eggs from the ovaries to to the uterus, where fertilization will occur. The uterus is a muscular organ that provides a site for fetal development during pregnancy. And the cervix here is the lower part of the uterus that opens into the vagina, while the vagina is the muscular tube that connects the cervix to the outside of the body, and this serves as the birth canal during childbirth. The urogenital system is also important in maintaining homeostasis, which is the stable internal environment required for the proper functioning of the body. One of the primary functions of the urogenital system is to regulate the balance of fluids, electrolytes such as sodium, potassium, and calcium, and pH in the body by filtering waste products and excess fluids from the blood and excreting them as urine. So you can see that here in the first figure where we have the loop of Henle and then H2O and glucose amino acids being filtered out. And then this process also helps maintain the body's water balance, which is essential for proper cellular function and regulation of blood pressure. Specifically, it maintains the acid base balance of the body by regulating the pH of the blood. So the kidneys are able to produce bicarbonate, which affects um, excess acid in the blood because it acts as a buffer to neutralize the excess acid in the blood. So we can see that here, courtesy of the tubules which are found inside the kidney. And additionally, the urogenital system also helps regulate blood volume and pressure by producing the hormone renin. We can see here in the picture it's courtesy of the JGC or JG cells found in the kidneys. So they play a role in producing the hormone renin, which activates a cascade of reactions that ultimately increases blood pressure. The reproductive organs in the urogenital system also play a role in maintaining homeostasis by regulating hormone levels. Hormones such as testosterone and estrogen play a role in regulating bone density, muscle mass, and fat distribution, as well as sexual function and reproduction. And these hormones also help regulate the menstrual cycle, fertility, and sexual development. And you can see here in the picture that these hormones that I just mentioned are influenced by different positive and negative feedback loops. So overall, the urogenital system plays a critical role in maintaining homeostasis by regulating fluid balance, blood pressure, and reproductive function.
And now we'll be discussing the normal development of the urogenital system. The intermediate mesoderm is where the urogenital system originates. The gonadal ridge and the nearby nephrogenic cords, which will later develop into the urinary system, are formed from the intermediate mesoderm. The nephrogenic cords elongate caudally and sequentially generate the pronephros, which is a primitive and non-functional structure, the mesonephros, which forms the urine system in its early stages, and the metanephros, which forms the permanent kidney. The intermediate mesoderm, which is the germ layer of the developing embryo, undergoes temporary development and modification as part of the development of a urogenital system. The pronephros, mesonephros, and metanephros are the three pairs of tube nephric structures that emerge from the urogenital ridge. In the fourth week of development, the pronephros develops. Around 22 days after conception, at the 10-somite stage, the human pronephros is initially observable. It starts to develop in the embryo's cervical area. The nephratomes are tubules formed by the segmented divisions of intermediate mesoderm. The pronephric duct, a duct that runs from the cervical area to the embryo's cloaca, is where these tubules converge. By the end of week 4, this early system is non-functional and has fully regressed. When mesonephric tubules grow, the duct is termed the mesonephric Olofean duct, and around day 25, the nephratomes and pronephric portion of the duct involute and are impossible to distinguish. The mesonephros develops caudally to the pronephros. Initially, the pronephric duct causes the mesonephric tubules to develop in the surrounding intermediate mesoderm of the thoracolumbar region. Mesonephric tubules originate from the intermediate mesoderm medial to the duct by the mesenchymal epithelial transformation. The mesonephric duct is where these tubules drain after receiving a tuft of capillaries from the dorsal air duct, which allows for blood filtration, and these serve as the embryo's first excretory system. The filtration of blood begins from the blood flows down the aorta to the allantois. The mesonephros disappears by 16 weeks, except in male fetuses in whom the proximal segments of some caudal mesonephric tubules contribute to form the part of the male reproductive system. Additionally, the mesonephric duct sprouts the uteric bud caudally, which induces the development of the definitive kidney. The permanent kidney is formed from the metanephros, which begins to develop around the fifth week. In the pelvic region, cells in the intermediate mesoderm start to develop into a structure known as the metanephric blastema, which ultimately develops into the nephron cells, which also release the growth factors that encourage the growth of the uteretic buds, which emerge from the caudal region of the mesonephric duct. The ureteric bud grow toward and invade the metanephric placenta, which is an elongating stalk of the ureteric bud and develops into the ureter. Within the metanephric placenta, the ureteric buds undergo a series of branching to form the renal pelvis, major calyces, minor calyces, and the collecting tubules. In the metanephric mesodermal cap, the mesoderm from the metanephric placenta, which is sitting on top of the developing collecting ducts, elongates and forms the tubular system of the nephrons, which becomes as the metanephric tubule. The metanephric tubule fuses with the collecting tubule, creating a one continuous system. Nephrons are formed until birth, and nephron maturation continues after birth. New nephrons are never generated after the completion of nephrogenesis, and kidney development is not complete at this point. However, because nephron segments elongate, the medulla expands and segment-specific differentiation occurs, while blood supply increases. In the ascent of the kidneys and the corresponding change in vascular supply, the kidneys are initially located in the pelvic region. The kidneys' relative placement ascends towards the higher quadrants of the abdomen as the caudal region of the body grows downward, and the initial blood supply degenerates as the kidneys rise. The mature renal arteries are formed when new vessels that originate higher up branch off the aorta and enter the kidneys. The original vessels may continue as new renal arteries or veins if they fail to regress.
At the fifth week of development, the ureteric bud arises as a diverticulum from the mesonephric or the Wolffian duct. The bud grows laterally and invades the center of the metanephrogenic blastema, the primordial renal tissue. The meeting of these two tissues causes changes in the bud and the metanephros. The metanephrogenic blastema forms glomeruli, proximal tubules, and distal tubules. The ureteric bud divides branches forming the renal pelvis, infundibulae, calyxes, and collecting tubules, which will provide a conduit for urine drainage in the mature kidney. This process is known as the induction of the kidney. The bladder and urethra of the urogenital system are ultimately derived from the cloaca. a hindgut structure that is a common chamber for gastrointestinal and urinary waste. In the fourth to seventh weeks of development, the cloaca is divided into two parts by the urorectal septum. The first part is the urogenital sinus located in the anterior part and the anal canal, which is located in the posterior part. As the bladder develops from the urogenital sinus, it absorbs the caudal parts of the mesonephric ducts, also known as the Wolffian ducts, becoming the trigone of the bladder. The ureters, which have formed as outgrowths of the mesonephric ducts, enters the bladder at the base of the trigone. The final structure varies between the sexes. Proliferation of mesoderm and ectoderm around the cloacal membrane produces primordial tissues of the external genitalia in both sexes. The genital tubercle, genital folds, and genital swellings. The primordia are indistinguishable up until about week 12. In the male, the primordia differentiate as follows. The genital tubercle constitutes the body and glands of the penis, and the corpora cavernosum and spongiosum. Genital folds constitute the ventral aspect of the penis and the penile raphe, and the genital swellings which constitute the scrotum and the scrotal raphe. In the female, the primordia differentiate as follows. The genital tubercle constitutes the body and the glands of the clitoris. Genital folds constitute the labia minora and the genital swellings which constitute the labia majora and the mons pubis. The male reproductive system is under the influence of sex-determining region. The gonad develops into a testis containing spermatogonia, Leydig cells, and Sertoli cells. Leydig cells produces testosterone, which supports growth of the mesonephric ducts. The development of the male gonad and upper reproductive tract is the paramesonephric duct, which regresses, and the mesonephric duct, which develops into the epididymis and vas deferens. As for the female reproductive system, in the absence of a sex-determining region, the gonad develops into an ovary with oogonia and stromal cells. Since no testosterone is produced, the mesonephric ducts regress. The development of the female gonad and upper reproductive tract is the paramesonephric duct, which becomes the oviduct, and the mesonephric duct, which mostly regresses.
Now we will be discussing the abnormal development of the urogenital system. And we'll be focusing first on the causes of abnormal development. We all know that the urogenital system plays an important role in the human body, and any abnormal development can lead to significant health problems. There are several causes of abnormal development of the urogenital system, and this can be broadly categorized into genetic mutations and environmental factors. Genetic mutations can result from errors that occur during the formation of the egg or sperm, or from mutations that occur during embryonic development. These mutations can affect the genes that control the development of the urogenital system, which can lead to abnormal development. So, we have an example, which are mutations in the gene called WT1, which is responsible for the development of the kidneys and can lead to renal abnormalities. Environmental factors can also play a significant role in the abnormal development of the urogenital system. Exposure to certain toxins, drugs, or radiation can disrupt the normal development of the system. An example of this is exposure to drugs such as thalidomide during pregnancy has been linked to the development of limb abnormalities and urogenital defects in infants. Another environmental factors that can affect urogenital development are maternal health and lifestyle choices. Certain maternal infections, such as rubella, can lead to congenital abnormalities in the urogenital system. Maternal malnutrition can also affect fetal growth and development, which can also lead to abnormalities in the system. In addition to genetic mutations and environmental factors, certain lifestyle choices can also contribute to abnormal urogenital development. So, for example, smoking during pregnancy has been linked to the development of several congenital anomalies, including those affecting the urogenital system. Now, focusing on congenital anomalies, we have here renal agenesis and hypospadia. So, what are congenital anomalies? These refer to defects that are present at birth and can affect any part of the body, including the urogenital system. So, what is renal agenesis? This is a congenital anomaly that refers to the absence of one or both kidneys. So, this can occur due to genetic mutations or environmental factors such as exposure to certain drugs or maternal infections during pregnancy. Renal agenesis can also have serious consequences on the health of an individual because the kidneys play a critical role in filtering waste products from the blood and maintaining fluid balance. Hypospadias is another congenital anomaly that affects the urogenital system, specifically the penis. So, in hypospadias, the opening of the urethra is located on the underside of the penis rather than at the tip, which can result in difficulties with urination and sexual function. Like renal agenesis, hypospadias can also occur due to genetic mutations or environmental factors such as exposure to certain drugs during pregnancy. Both renal agenesis and hypospadias are typically diagnosed shortly after birth or during childhood. So we have treatment options for these conditions and may include surgical correction, medication, or other supportive therapies. It is also important to note that congenital anomalies affecting the urogenital system can have a significant impact on an individual's quality of life, including their ability to reproduce and maintain overall health. Therefore, it is important that there is early diagnosis and management of these conditions, which are essential to improve their outcomes. Now we focus on intersex conditions, and we have here androgen insensitivity syndrome and congenital adrenal hyperplasia. When we say intersex conditions, we refer to a group of disorders that affect the development of the reproductive and sexual organs. Androgen insensitivity syndrome, or AIS, is a genetic disorder that affects the development of male sex characteristics. So, individuals with this disorder are born with male chromosomes but may have female external genitalia or a combination of male and female characteristics. So, this is due to a genetic mutation that prevents the body from responding to androgens. And androgens are male hormones that plays a critical role in the development of male sex organs. So we also have congenital adrenal hyperplasia, or CAH, which is another intersex condition that affects the adrenal glands. And the adrenal glands produce hormones that regulate various bodily functions. So individuals with CAH are born with female chromosomes but may have male or ambiguous external genitalia due to an overproduction of androgens. So this overproduction is usually caused by a genetic mutation that affects the enzymes responsible for producing cortisol and other hormones. Both AIS and CAH can have significant impacts on an individual's overall health and well being, which is why treatment options for these conditions may include hormone therapy, surgery, or other supportive therapies. It is also important to note that the management of these intersex conditions is highly individualized and should be based on the specific needs and preferences of the individual. Lastly, we will be focusing on the effects on overall ontogeny of the organism, including fertility and overall health. One of the primary effects of abnormal development of the urogenital system is fertility issues, and congenital anomalies such as renal agenesis and hypospadias can affect the function of the kidneys and reproductive organs, which would make it difficult or impossible for affected individuals to conceive or carry a pregnancy to term. Intersex conditions such as the aforementioned androgen insensitivity syndrome and congenital adrenal hyperplasia can also affect fertility by altering the development of the reproductive organs or hormonal imbalances.
Now let's discuss the role of hormones in the development of secondary sexual characteristics. Secondary sexual characteristics are physical features that distinguish males from females, typically seen after puberty. The two main hormones involved in the development of secondary sexual characteristics are testosterone and estrogen. In male puberty, the testes increases testosterone production. Testosterone is responsible for the development of facial, pubic, and body hair. It also causes the vocal cords to lengthen and thicken, resulting in a deeper voice. It promotes the growth of muscle tissue and the development of sex organs, so boys can see an increase in muscle mass and an enlargement of the penis and testicles. It also helps to regulate sex drive and fertility. In female puberty, the increase of estrogen levels results in physical changes and the capacity to reproduce. Estrogen is responsible for the maturation of the female sex organs, including the ovaries, uterus, and vagina. It stimulates the development of feminine features such as breast growth, the widening of hips, and the distribution of body fat. It also promotes the distribution of hair in the pubic and underarm areas. And of course, it stimulates the growth of the uterine lining and helps regulate the menstrual cycle to prepare the body for pregnancy. Another hormone called progesterone is also important for preparing the uterus for pregnancy. In both males and females, the production of hormones is regulated by the hypothalamus and pituitary gland in the brain. The timing of the release of these hormones is important in the development of secondary sexual characteristics. Thus, let us proceed with the timing and onset of puberty in males and females. Puberty is the period of sexual maturation when a child's body undergoes a series of physiological changes that transform them into a sexually mature adult. While the timing and onset of puberty can vary greatly between individuals, there are some general patterns that can be observed in males and females. In females, the onset of puberty usually occurs between the ages of 8 and 13, although it can occur as early as 7 or as late as 15. The first sign of puberty in girls is usually the development of breast buds, followed by the growth of pubic hair and the onset of menstruation. Menstruation typically begins around the 2 years after the onset of breast development and is a sign that female reproductive system is fully matured. In males, the onset of puberty is usually slightly later than in females, occurring between the ages of 9 and 14, although it can occur as early as 8 or as late as 16. The first signs of puberty in boys typically include the enlargement of the penis and testicles and the growth of pubic hair. Boys will then continue to observe other signs of puberty. The timing of puberty is influenced by a variety of factors, including genetics, nutrition, and other environmental factors. Now let's proceed with the disorders of puberty. Puberty is a complex period of development that involves the interplay of various hormones and physiological changes. As such, a variety of disorders can affect the timing and progression of puberty. The two main disorders of puberty include: first is precocious puberty. This occurs when puberty starts earlier than normal. In girls, precocious puberty occurs when they show signs like breast development or menstruation before the age of 8, while in boys, it occurs when they show signs like penile enlargement before the age of 9. Delayed puberty occurs when there is a delay in the onset of puberty beyond the normal range. In girls, this includes the absence of breast development by age 12 or the absence of menstruation by age 15. In boys, symptoms of delayed puberty can include the absence of penile enlargement by age 14 or absence of pubic hair by age 15. There are also genetic disorders like Turner syndrome in females and Klinefelter syndrome in males that can lead to delayed puberty, infertility, and other complications. Not all disorders of puberty can be prevented or cured. It is generally recommended to have regular checkups with a pediatrician to detect potential issues related to puberty and ensure prompt treatment.
Finally, let us move on to the conclusion of this presentation. Understanding the embryology of the urogenital system is essential in comprehending the connections and operations between the reproductive and urologic systems. The complex nature of the development process in these systems is clear or exemplified by the partial fusion of the two systems found in certain congenital anomalies. And given how this is so complex and the length of differentiation and the development involved in this process, it's not surprising that most malformations involving these systems, which we discussed, the genital and urinary systems, have one of the highest incidence rates in all of our body systems. So, proper embryological development of the urogenital system is critical for the normal functioning of the urinary and reproductive systems. Malformations and defects during embryonic development can lead to a wide range of urogenital abnormalities, such as discussed earlier, renal agenesis. And these abnormalities can have significant consequences on a person's health and quality of life, including urinary tract infections, infertility, and psychological distress. So, there are actually socioeconomic implications to these as well. In addition to the physical and psychological effects on the individual, urogenital abnormalities can also have um, influence the socioeconomic life of the individual. For example, individuals with urogenital abnormalities may face discrimination and stigmatization due to their condition, which can also affect their education or employment opportunities and even social interactions, interpersonal relationships. So treatment and management of urogenital abnormalities can also be costly, requiring multiple surgeries and lifelong medical care. Therefore, ensuring proper embryological development of the urogenital system is crucial for the overall health and well-being of individuals and society as a whole. So, given the three main takeaways, so what can we do about urogenital development and healthcare? So, since we know its critical aspects of overall health and well-being, they are actually often overlooked or stigmatized, and it's crucial to promote awareness and education about urogenital development and health to ensure that individuals have the knowledge and resources they need to maintain optimal health. So one important step in promoting awareness and education is to start a conversation. So we need to break down the taboo surrounding your genital health and creating an open and safe space for individuals to discuss their concerns and to seek help. And this could be done through public campaigns, social media platforms, community events, and um, other events that could allow for a discourse about this diseases or disorders. Second is education, and it is key in promoting urogenital health. We need to provide accurate and comprehensive information about the development and function of the urogenital system, as well as common conditions and their treatments, as this could be important in helping people know more about uh, what kind of disorders they could get from maldevelopment of their urogenital system. And this could be achieved through school based programs, health literacy campaigns, or online resources. And furthermore, healthcare professionals are also very critical in promoting urogenital health. They can provide guidance and support to individuals experiencing urogenital health issues, and they also ensure that patients receive appropriate care and treatment. So it's important to train healthcare professionals in urogenital health and encourage them to have an open and honest conversations with their patients. So that's it for the conclusion. Thank you for listening.